What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Vanguard Live. Great to be back on this rainy Monday afternoon here in Kansas City. The rain was coming down hard. I'm glad it subsided a little bit because the noise on our roof was so loud. I was worried it would, be picked up by the microphones. But yeah, it's a nice little rainy day over here in KC. Glad to be back. We got some juicy drama popping off on Twitter to discuss today and react to. So I'm excited to get your opinion on that, Zach, and to hear from everyone in our community about what you guys think about this little beef as well. But yeah, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Yeah, excited to be back on the microphone. Obviously, the thunder was crazy this morning here in Kansas City. It was like I normally fall asleep to like rain sounds, and I woke up and it was like it was so loud. I was like, wait, this is real rain, and it was like thundering on the roof. I mean, it was some good April rainfall for sure, but. Without further ado, just like every episode, we like to begin and end with a massive shout out to you lovely fuckers in our patron community, the Vanguardians and comrades that keep the lights on here at the Casa del Vanguard. Massive shout out to you guys. Of course, you're all comrades to us. Just hit that like and subscribe button.
Absolutely. Huge shout out to the Patreon community. We do like to start and end all of our shows with a big shout out to the patrons, as you guys know, because we wouldn't be able to do this show without their support. So if you guys enjoy our program and want to keep the show healthy and sustainable financially, please consider hitting up that link in the description. YouTube really screws us when it comes to ad revenue, as they do all small creators, especially in the leftist political realm. So the patron dollars really do keep the channel going. Like they said, we wouldn't be able to do the show without the support of our Patreon community. So hit up that link in the description if you want to help us out a little bit. We really appreciate it. But yeah, with that out of the way, we got some great stuff to talk about today. There's a breaking point segment I'd also like to react to if we have the time, where they're discussing some of the Matt Taibbi, Elon Musk drama that we talked about yesterday. So if we have time for that, we'll get into that. If there's anything else you guys want us to talk about specifically, feel free to mention it in the chat. We still haven't got around to chatting about the AOC interview with David Sirota of The Lever. There's some good stuff in there to unpack if we have time, but it looks like we already do have a few super chats to address before we get started. So a huge shout out to you guys for the super chats. Thank you, Christina. First super chat of the live stream. Really appreciate that, Christina, for the generous $9.99. Catching your live show is making my back to work Monday better. Can't wait for the Karen takedown. Well, thank you so much, Christina. Really appreciate that generous super chat. I'm always looking forward to discussing and taking down Karen Kasparian. So we appreciate that, and we're glad you're excited too.
Yeah, shout out to you, Christina. Really appreciate that generous super chat. We're excited to break it down. Shout out to the real Kevin Smith as well, saving your Mondays. Yeah, we don't always go live on Mondays, but I feel like it's always good to get the week started off on the right foot. Shout out to you, Kevin. Really appreciate seeing you in the chat.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kevin. Really appreciate that, man. Glad you were able to tune in today. Hope you enjoyed the show. And shout out to you, Tony, for the $5. Anna and everyone else at TYT are high school level mature. They're arrogant and out of touch, and no one should take their side. Yeah, I mean, you guys know that Zach and I are not the biggest fans of TYT. We've spent a large portion of our channel going after them, criticizing them on various grounds. But today's little beef between Anna Kasparian and Olayemi Olurin is like a new low, in my opinion, for Anna. Just totally out of nowhere, totally uncalled for, totally unnecessary, and basically ever since, in my opinion, unsubstantive too, just complete pettiness. So I'm really excited to break it down for those reasons. But thank you so much, Tony. Really appreciate the $5.
Yeah, absolutely. And without further ado, do you want to go ahead and get into it, Gavin? Really appreciate you, Tony.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's jump right into the muck, get right into the gutter. But yeah, shout out to you, Tony. Thanks everyone for tuning in so far. Everyone, make sure to hit that like button if you are just now tuning in and have not already hit the like button. We have 127 comrades watching the stream right now. If all 127 of you could hit that like button, that would be greatly appreciated and massively helpful. It helps us beat the algorithm, get some more comrades in the chat. So super excited to get into today's main story. Before we do so, if everyone could hit that like button, that'd be greatly appreciated. But yeah, I guess we can jump right into the muck. Like I said, you guys know we're banned by Anna Kasparian on our main Twitter, so I'm gonna have to pull this stuff over on my other browser. Journey over to my personal Twitter account. So just a second. Here we go. Olayemi Olurin posted this video. If you guys don't know, Olayemi Olurin's a public defender in New York City. Also has her own YouTube channel and is a member of the Leftist Mafia show on Twitch and YouTube. She's been on the Vanguard several times. Zach and I are both big fans of her work and her commentary. So, just wanted to let you guys know. Technically, Olayemi is a friend of the show. But she posted this video 13 hours ago about Angel Reese, the basketball player from LSU, who's obviously been quite a controversial figure. I'm sure you guys have been following that story, at least peripherally. Let's take a look at Olay's video. Oh, wait, you guys can't hear this, can you? Yeah, because I'm sharing this in my... Here, let me actually pull this up in my regular browser, because although I am blocked by Anna, obviously we're not blocked by Olay. That would be unfortunate. So I can show you guys the video, and then we'll show you guys what Anna responded with in the other browser. But yeah, here's what Olay's original video was all about.
Just now on the timeline, I scroll in and I see some girl try to compare Angel Reese to Sid from Ice Age. And that's when I really realized, babe, y'all are some fucking haters, babe. Like, babe, listen, haters. If I don't tell you nothing else but fucking people, they are haters, bro. Like, if you spend time on the internet, you will know that the app out there going to hell. Yes, sirree, Bob. Yes, sirree, Bob. Going to hell, okay? Let me tell y'all something. The express train straight to hell gonna be booked. It's going to be late. It's going to be late because they're gonna get stopped and stalled because of the traffic. Because of the traffic. It's gonna be slam-packed, booked to hell. Hell. Just now.
Yeah, so as you guys might be wondering, first of all, I mean, Olay's hilarious. I love her commentary as always. And obviously this poster in question is a total hater. Angel Reese is beautiful. So it's ridiculous to compare her to Sid.
I think it may have been more in relationship to the like people have been coming after Angel Reese, obviously, for like being extra competitive on the fucking, and so it's always going to bring like the dog pile of like, oh, like, this person's a scrub kind of a deal, right?
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The person who compared her to Sid from Ice Age is full of shit. Angel Reese is a badass and completely beautiful. But so, yeah, I thought that was worthy of Olay's criticism. And I'm sure you guys are wondering, what the fuck does this have anything to do with Anna Kasparian? I'm sure Olay was also wondering that last night after she posted this, and all of a sudden Anna Kasparian pops up in her replies again to this totally innocuous video about Angel Reese. Has nothing to do with Anna. But Olay pops into her replies and says, "Oh, Olay, do you mean people who demand people, quote unquote, cook their friends? Those kind of haters?" Out of the blue, completely out of nowhere here. Like just totally random. I'm guessing she was a few glasses of wine deep, if I just have to guess. But yeah, this is totally uncalled for, totally out of nowhere. Anna Kasparian wading into this Twitter thread for no reason to say, "Oh, Olay, you mean the people who demand people cook their friends, those kind of haters?" To which Olay replied with a simple question mark, being unaware of what Anna's even referencing here. Then Anna responds with this video clip from a recent episode of the Leftist Mafia, which, as I mentioned, Olay is a co-host of. And this was a clip from a recent episode where they were discussing Anna's recent controversial take about how she doesn't want to be referred to as a birthing person, and how you can support trans people and trans rights while also shying away from using that term because, as she said, it's quite degrading. So let's take a look at this clip from the Leftist Mafia, and then we'll break it down.
Oh, yeah. Do you mind if I jump in here really quickly?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I was just going to go back a little bit about that. We never talked about that Angel Reese controversy, right? Obviously, the LSU women's basketball team becoming the most watched basketball team in the country, which I thought was crazy. But did you follow the entire Jill Biden thing with that? I think we talked about it a little bit on the show. I honestly, I loved the energy that Angel Reese was bringing on the court, and the fact that the double standard is insane. And one of the things that it reminded me of is this weekend we were talking about how Israel Adesanya was, he regained the strap in the UFC, and the difference of standard between just men and women's sports is absolutely ridiculous. Let me tell you how Israel Adesanya celebrated knocking out Alex Pereira in cold blood. He immediately goes out and looks for his child in the crowd. The son of Alex Pereira points at him and then pretends to play dead as if he just murdered his father while the child is crying. Nobody bats an eye. Nobody writes an article about fucking MMA world like, oh, was this unsportsmanlike? I mean, absolutely insane that just because Angel Reese like points to her ring finger, something that would have been considered like just infinitely innocuous in men's sports, has led to so much of this, so that weeks after the fucking championship is over, Angel Reese is still the like number one talking point of like, oh, how should women behave in sports? Anyway, pretty ridiculous. That was all I was going to add to this.
Oh, I completely agree. Not only do I not give a shit about what Angel Reese did with her hand gesture on the field, I wish there was more of that in sports. Like, I like that kind of spirit when it comes to like the taunting, like as long as it doesn't go too far, obviously there's a line. If she had flipped her off and said like, fuck you, like that might've been a little bit over the top and unnecessary for basketball, which obviously isn't quite the same as like the UFC where that is, more expected. But yeah, I wish there was more of that. I don't know why everyone has to act like it's a 6th grade hockey game or something, or a fucking, middle school softball, kickball game. Like, no, you don't have to be 100% civil. It's okay to taunt a little bit and get in someone's face. Like, it's a fucking competitive sport. Who cares? And that is why I like UFC. Obviously I don't like UFC as much as Zach does. You guys know that, but to the extent that I do enjoy it, one of my favorite aspects of the sport is that culture of just like ruthless taunting. Obviously Conor McGregor, I remember when he was huge, that was what he did best. Besides the fighting itself, was just a vicious taunting. So yeah, I mean, I like that stuff. Not only do I not care about what Angel Reese did, I wish there was more of that in sports in general, because I don't mind it at all. I think it makes the whole spectacle more entertaining. But again, it's funny because that's all kind of irrelevant to this conversation. Anna Kasparian was not even commenting on the substance. She had nothing to say about Angel Reese. She's just making this all about herself, and now posting this receipt of Olayemi supposedly being a hater herself. So let's take a look here and see just how much of a hater Olay was being. Wait, I will have to pull this up. However, in another tab, one sec, guys. Sorry, like I said, we're blocked by Anna. So let me pull this up in a Chrome browser real quick so you guys can actually see what was said. All right, Zach, can you talk for like 5 seconds?
What's up, everybody? Sorry, I was responding to Christine in the chat. I guess I'll just respond to her right now. She says, I'm so confused. What is the problem with this woman? Essentially what happened is LSU in the last games, what was the name of the other? It was like the other team had a very competitive basketball player whose name escapes me. I think she scored something like 40 points, had an amazing, incredible season also, and who was also known for being like a fucking trash talker, right? But when Angel Reese, who, I think it's relevant to point out is a black woman, when she kind of came back at her and was like, LOL, I'm going to get this ring. It was really innocuous, especially compared to men's sports. The kind of pushback that she was, or the kind of taunting or whatever. I mean, the shit you see all the time in the NFL or in the NBA, and certainly, combat sports like the UFC. I mean, it just pales in comparison. But there was a whole big kerfuffle about it. Jill Biden said she was going to invite the losing team to the White House anyway, which never fucking happens, and kind of goes against the whole tradition of the winning team goes. So kind of, there was a whole big internet discussion about that for a while. But anyway, shout out to you, Christina. It looks like we're ready to rock and roll on the next story.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just quickly downloaded the video clip so I could play it for you guys, because like I said, I'm not going to get any audio from the Brave browser, and I can't show it to you on the Chrome browser because we're blocked by Kasparian. However, this is the post that Anna made, to supposedly prove that Olayemi is being hypocritical in her video, because she's calling out Angel Reese's haters. But here we're going to see an example of Olay herself being a hater. At least that's what Anna posted this clip to prove, I guess. Again, completely out of nowhere. This had nothing to do with you, Anna. But let's take a look at what she posted, and Zach and I will give you our opinion.
You should be able to mention those without like having to classify it as, but you shouldn't get mad at her for this because of her history. No, I mean, no one's mad at her for her history.
I think it makes sense if you want her to change her mind and to understand what she did wrong. Because if without that context, like, again, that's why it's important if you know her that you do include that context, because she has to understand these disagreements are coming from an honest place, and we're not just doing it for clicks, right? Like that's so.
No, of course,
but that's not the same. That's not the same, though. That's not the same.
I have to say it. Oh my God, I have to say it. I like Anna, but I feel a little bit like this is the coddle the white lady hour. And you know why? And you know why I thought this even earlier, because before this, the Majority Report put out a thing too, and everybody else, and I was like, boy, everybody sure feels the need to trip over their fucking feet to come out to defend her for getting cooked when all of the people get cooked all the time. I have yet to watch a video of anybody defending me from getting fucking cooked. I've never seen it. I've never seen everybody come out. She has a lot of fucking bad takes, and then she gets cooked because she comes out unprovoked. She asks to be cooked. She got up today and she said, Twitter, cook me.
Right.
She has yet to delete the tweet. I want to make it clear. She has yet to delete the fucking tweet.
She hasn't deleted it?
You know why? Because at the end of the day, she took a 106,000 like tweet. She didn't even get ratio. She didn't even get ratio. She'll be all right. All right. She didn't get like, oh my God.
I saw that Majority Report video that went up. It's exactly what Emma said on the show earlier today. And when I heard Emma say it, I was like, Emma put it great. And then I saw them put it up with the title that says Anna Kasparian is not anti-trans. I'm like, that's not the point. Why are you putting that as the title of the video? That's not the point.
She's
this
not
is where
anti-trans.
and
The concern,
it was an anti-trans take.
The substance of the viewpoint, she is legitimized. You see what I'm saying? The conversation has just shifted to defend, like everybody's conversation is about.
It was an anti-trans take. She's not anti-trans. That sounds a lot like, oh, he's not racist. He just says a lot of racist shit. Like, what? You're a shitter, bro.
Defending whether or not Anna is a turf in her career and blah blah blah, rather than talking about the substance of what she put out and why that is offensive to legitimize and why it's a problem for
and being held responsible for it.
Thank you.
That's normalize large creators being called out and being like, oh shit, I was wrong.
Yeah. So honestly, based tangent by Olayemi, and I think she's 100% right. She came in and she said, I think it's coddled the white lady hour. And I was like, dude, you guys are, and I don't even know if it's the fact that she's a white lady or the fact that TYT is the parent organization for a couple of the people's shows. I don't know if I think Humanist Report is still affiliated with TYT, though. Mike obviously has had disagreements with Cenk and Anna in the past. I don't know if David Dole is at all affiliated with TYT in this point, but I mean, it's definitely a similar circle, right? And you can tell a massive tonal difference in how, somebody would respond to Anna Kasparian making those, turf talking points to somebody like Ben Shapiro, right? And if Jimmy Dore had gone on and made those same talking points to Ben Shapiro, how would these people be reacting, right? They would be pulling their hair out, right? Which I think is fair to say. And I get that, people have real life friends and real life relationships. But, the consistency, kind of needs to be there, right? And Anna Kasparian has put her foot in her mouth and just said some horrible things recently when it comes to not just, LGBTQ issues, but homeless issues, police issues, all across the board, just a rightward shift, So I think it's completely fair to call her out for it.
Yeah, it's completely fair. And also, again, this has nothing to do with anything, Anna. Here's a clip of other commentators criticizing you of commentator. Like, you're a public figure. You're not Olay's bestie. It's not like she's talking about you behind your back or something. This is her podcast, and she has the right to share her opinion about your opinion. This is not hating. Because Anna's posting this as an example of Olay's supposed hypocrisy, saying, well, you're going to call out people for being haters. Well, here's a clip of you being a hater. This isn't Olay being a hater. This is Olay giving her opinion. Obviously, she's a passionate and spirited commentator. That's like part of her personality. She's funny and passionate, like I said, but she's not hating here. She's just giving her take. She's giving her analysis of what you said, Anna, which is what her job is as a public or as a political commentator, just like how your job as a political commentator is to give your take and to give your reaction to other people's takes. So she's not talking about you behind your back. She's not even talking shit. She's literally giving her opinion about what you said and the way other people reacted to it. This is in no way comparable to someone hating on Angel Reese by saying that she looks like Sid from Ice Age, which is obviously completely unsubstantive. And that is just an example of someone being a hater. Like if Olay had posted a video where she said, Anna Kasparian really looks like the Wicked Witch from the West, huh? That would be an example of her being a hater. Like, that's not substantive. It has nothing to do with a political argument. It's just being mean. Anna looks like the Wicked Witch from the West. Yeah, that's kind of rude. That is kind of hating. And there's not really any like point to doing that other than just to be mean. Just like how there's no point in comparing Angel Reese to Sid from Ice Age other than to just be a dick to her. So that's hating. Again, what Olay was doing in this clip that Anna Kasparian posted as some epic gotcha to prove Olay's hypocrisy is not hating. It's just Olay doing her job and giving her opinion on a controversial statement that Anna Kasparian made.
Yeah, 100%. So, pretty innocuous here. I mean, again, this was a horrible take from Anna Kasparian. If she wanted to actually do some growth, she would learn from it. But clearly that's not what she's interested in doing. And yeah, again, completely unsubstantive, right? Like cook their friends, for their horrible takes. Like I'll cook Gavin if he has a horrible take. Like that's just the way it is. That's what's going to have to happen. If Gavin's is out here, Ben Shapiro's making a lot of good points about homelessness. I'd be like, no, he's not. He's not making a single good point about homelessness. And you are on drugs, sir. And that would be the obvious reaction that anybody would have. So yeah. LOL. Shout out to the real Kevin Smith. If I'm gonna get this ring as unsportsmanlike IDK, how these cats can watch any sport for real. 100%, dude. 100%. It was nothing. It was no more innocuous than being like, whoosh, I mean, any kind of like celebration at all. She pointed to, and what's crazy is that what was the woman? I think people told me her name is Caitlin Clark. Was the person on the other team? They'd done an ESPN segment where they were like montaging like how badass she was for like really getting into it on the court. The second Angel Reese does it, now it's a problem. Okay, like now we're dealing with race politics and the fucking like, protect the white woman and all this kind of shit, right? No, these are two competitive athletes. Caitlin Clark herself said, what the fuck? Like this lady could do whatever she wants on the court, right? She's a great basketball player, yada, yada, yada. But it's just this public need to come out and like coddle, the women's sports teams. Absolutely ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. And I mean, I don't watch a ton of sports, but like every time I watch a football game, seemingly there's a flag given to one of the players for unsportsmanlike behavior, like whether it's taunting or grabbing or like some shit that's considered like unsportsmanlike. There's always a flag about that. It's commonplace in I feel like every male sport. But yeah, as soon as a woman does it, especially a black woman, it's a huge problem. Luckily, I feel like most people called out the reaction, but there were obviously some cringy folks that had to share their dumbass opinion about what Angel Reese did. But anyway, thank you so much, Kevin, for the $5. Really appreciate that. And thank you also, Brian, for the $4.99. TYT is deeply committed to the project of mass incarceration and expanding the police state. And that brings us back to probably why Anna is really mad at Olay in the first place, because Olay was one of the first to call out TYT for spreading propaganda and for making arguments against abolition, really bad faith arguments against the abolition perspective or the abolitionist perspective as it relates to prison abolition. And Anna, or rather Olay, called them out pretty viciously multiple times and went on TYT to absolutely school Jake and Anna in person. So I imagine Anna still feels some sort of way about that too, after she got totally embarrassed by this person.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's why they make a terrible representation of the left, because it's the supposedly like the leftist news show you can possibly get where they just simultaneously agree with the far right on a bunch of random issues like crime, housing, LGBTQ issues, all that kind of stuff. Like Anna wants to go be buddy and cuddly with Ben Shapiro, and then also come out and talk about how outraged she is at like, the fact that, I'm being called a birthing person. It's like, yeah, dude, if Ben Shapiro ran the fucking fucking world, that's all you'd be. That's all you'd be, a fucking birthing but you want to go in, oh yeah, I'm so afraid of crime in Los Angeles. I only make fucking hundreds and thousands of dollars. Like, woe is me, I'm a woman. And I get that she went through some trauma, right? But unfortunately, going through trauma doesn't give you carte blanche to, cop for systemic racism and, the police state.
100%. 100%. However, the beef did not end there. The exchange did not end there. Olayemi quote tweeted this video that we just shared with you guys that supposedly depicted her being a hater when in reality she was just commenting on Anna's controversial statement. Olay says, you made transphobic statements and we spent an hour of the show defending you from allegations of being a TERF rather than addressing the substantive problems with your comment. I said I felt like they were coddling you. I stand by that. If you think that makes me a hater, knock yourself out, Miss Mamas. I think she goes on then to say, and let me just say this for people who I've been particularly kind to on the TL when y'all were being rightfully dragged and when I was personally disrespected on your show, it's truly wild that you would try to come for me on the timeline when everyone dragged you for your transphobic comments. So yeah, basically saying like, this isn't an example of us hating or of me hating. If anything, we defended you on this show. I just said that they were coddling you a little bit because that's how I felt. Again, that's not being a hater. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. One, I love the little Miss Mama's knock. That just makes, I love how like hilarious, effortlessly Olayemi is on Twitter. But yeah, look, she lays it out right here. One, she brings up a good point. They were massively disrespectful to her in her appearance on the Young Turks. She humiliated Jank, and he did not respond well to it because he didn't have any arguments that were actually rooted in substance, right? And look, Olayemi has more clout than almost anybody on the internet. She can be like, do you know how many people I've gotten out of jail? Do you know how many hours I've spent in court? Do you know I'm a fucking movement lawyer? Do you know I can't even vote in this country, and I've done more than you will ever do to uplift its citizens? I remember I had my mind blown. I was like, wait, they still won't let you vote even though you passed the bar? Like, that is madness. But anyway, so for her to come out and to try and take like an easy pot shot at Olay, really just low hanging fruit, just like fucking just a bad look, period. Right? Just like, come on.
Yeah. But it's about to get even better. Anna says, LOL, the meltdowns over wanting to be referred to as a woman rather than a birthing person is pretty wild. I'll never apologize for that, especially as a biological woman who has had a fucking lifetime of being told that I'm less than. I'm a woman, no apologies. First of all, no one was even asking you to apologize. It's not like no one was asking you to apologize. You're inserted yourself into this conversation. This had nothing to do with you. Olay's original tweet had to do with Angel Reese. Nothing to do with you, Anna. So no one's telling you to apologize. I don't even think that Anna necessarily needs to apologize. I mean, she said something that's controversial, but if that's how she feels, and I'm not saying she should just like cower to the mob or whatever. Like, if that is truly how she feels, then okay, own it. But don't act like you're a fucking victim out here now, acting like, oh, stop begging me to apologize. No one fucking cares. No one fucking cares. And what's especially funny is what Olayemi posted next. This clip of Anna from, I guess, a year or so ago. We'll play this for you guys because it basically totally destroys Anna's own argument, the one that she's been making over and over again on this subject matter, acting all aggrieved and acting like women are such victims for having to hear the term birthing people or whatever. So let's take a look at Anna's previous comments compared to her rhetoric nowadays.
They know there's a difference between gender and sex. They know that it is very possible for someone to be born a biological male or a biological female, but in terms of gender, identify differently as a male or non-binary, but they still have the biological capacity, the physical capacity to get pregnant. So that's why the language, the rhetoric, is inclusive to include those people. It is not a big deal, but they make it a big deal. They manufacture it into a big deal because that's all Republicans are. That's all they have. This is all they do. Endless bad faith arguments meant to fearmonger and direct hatred and fear toward other Americans, typically powerless Americans.
What? Are you fucking kidding me? This is how you know it's all for fucking money, guys. It's all for relevance. They've realized that, okay, here there's a lane for us where we like haphazardly defend the trans community, but it's too hot button. It'll actually probably cost us with our boomer ass listening base that only wants to hear about Trump, a man with like, no power right now. But who has the real power, Gavin? It's the trans people. The trans people have the real power. Let's talk about them. Let's talk about how they're demanding that I disavow my womanhood. It's crazy that this came from the same person. How could you just sell your principles down the river like this? I mean, it is absolutely absurd to see the way that she's just, stuck her finger in the wind and decided that, okay, you know what? Now that trans people are extremely vulnerable, I'm going to abandon any prior analysis that I had and just start 100% feeding into right-wing talking points. I mean, of the worst kind. I mean, you're validating a lot of the things that are being said by Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh. I mean, the biggest fucking turf is the wrong word because they're not feminist at all. They're just trans-hating bigots.
Yeah, this clip is insane. Totally insane, given Anna's recent rhetoric on the subject matter. Basically, espousing the exact opposite point of view and calling herself a Republican and a bad faith actor in the process. Literally labeling those arguments as bad faith, arguments that she would then go on to make herself mere months later. I just want to watch this clip one more time because it's so fucking crazy.
It's bad faith. They know there's a difference between gender and sex. They know that it is very possible for someone to be born a biological male or a biological female, but in terms of gender, identify differently as a male or non-binary, but they still have the biological capacity, the physical capacity to get pregnant. So that's why the language, the rhetoric is inclusive to include those people. It is not a big deal, but they make it a big deal. They manufacture it into a big deal because that's all Republicans are. That's all they have. This is all they do. Endless bad faith arguments meant to fearmonger and direct hatred and fear toward other Americans, typically powerless Americans.
Oh, it's just so beautiful. She literally just called herself a Republican, ginning up a bad faith moral panic in order to demonize trans people. Based on her own fucking comments, that's what she's doing. Which is why it was so perfect for Olay to post this clip in response to Anna saying, I will never apologize for taking this stand. I will never apologize for taking the stand as a woman. And again, I didn't even know that Anna had made these previous comments. When we reacted to this whole controversy, what was that, a couple weeks ago, I went on this really long-winded rant, and I was like, in good faith, trying to explain to Anna the point of the term birthing people and how it's not actually a replacement term for the word woman, and how it's actually just trying to expand and include more individuals that might have the capacity to give birth or the capacity to menstruate, but that don't identify as women, for example, trans men or non-binary folks who, again, don't actually identify as a woman, but still have the biological capabilities, the biological capacity to give birth or to, have a period or whatever. I went on this long-winded rant trying to explain it. Turns out she already fucking knew. I didn't need to explain it to her. I didn't need to engage with her in good faith at all, because in her own admission, she already understands this. She already understands the point of the term. She already understands the point of this language. And now, inexplicably, she's decided to do a complete 180 and take the opposite position, which is that this is some grave attack on women and, it needs to be fear-mongered about.
Oh, yeah. And it's the same exact formula that she's also recently taken to talk about crime, to talk about the unhoused community in Los Angeles, to talk about, this is why we need Rick Caruso, which actually mostly came from Cenk, her co-host, who she never really challenged publicly on the matter at all. Right? It's the same exact thing. Oh, it's actually the poorest among us. Oh, it's actually the most vulnerable among us, the unhoused community. That's what's keeping Los Angeles unsafe. There's no other reason, right? It's absolutely nothing but the evil of all of those people, the lawlessness, the fact that they're out on bail and not in a fucking incarcerated, right? Absolutely ridiculous. It's the same formula. It's like, okay, who is vulnerable enough for us to prey on to garner that kind of an audience without losing, the bulk of our audience that still wants like healthcare and, rah-rah progressive politics. They're trying to do that balancing act just because they've seen that be so successful for other commentators in the business.
Yep. But just truly the most damning response possible, in my opinion. So much so that Anna Kasparian herself didn't respond. She just left it there. Because how do you respond to this? I mean, she just destroyed her own argument in her own words. What do you say? How can you possibly account for your massive change in posturing as it relates to the subject matter as a commentator? So really, truly the best possible response Olay could have offered up here. It's great that she was able to find that clip and post it because it's just a chef's kiss moment. Also, Olay responded one more time, or rather Anna responded. Olay posted this one more time. Another follow-up tweet, I think this morning actually, saying, "Let the record reflect, I didn't say nothing to that attention-seeking woman. I was literally in my house minding my business, tweeting about Angel Reese. IDKY, she is using me for engagement tonight, but just know she started acting a fool all by herself. I'm as confused as y'all." And yeah, that's a great point from Olay, because it really is out of nowhere from Anna. It's not like Olay tagged Anna or in any way, tried to subtweet her or fucking anything. She just posted this video about Angel Reese talking about how some people were acting like haters and, being rude to her for no reason online. She puts this video out talking about that. Has nothing to do with Anna Kasparian, but of course Anna figures out a way to make it all about herself anyway, and got massively humiliated in the process. Just undeniably fucking humiliated, ratioed at every single turn, and everyone was basically just like, why are you doing this? Are you just doing this for engagement? Are you drunk? What is going on here?
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, it's even more humiliating than what happened to Matt, because at least he can hide behind the fact that Mehdi did, say, hey, I bet Matt Taibbi's not going to cover this, only for Matt to go on his show and get absolutely humiliated in front of a massive audience of people. Anna Kasparian can't even hide that. She brought this all on herself. She picked a fight and lost bad. She got starched. Absolutely freaking hilarious. Did get a few super chats that we could respond to really quickly. Shout out to Saul Good for the $4.20. Really appreciate that, man.
Yeah, thanks so much, Saul Good. Really appreciate the 420. Hope you're enjoying today's show.
Oh, yeah. It's been a banger. Shout out to you, Christina, for this throwback. This is like when Brandi Chastain took her shirt off on the field when the USA won the World Cup in 1999. It's only inappropriate when a woman does it. Absolutely. This is like one of the most iconic moments in sports history. Women's soccer team won the World Cup in 1999. She rips off her shirt, runs around, puts her hands in the air. It was a very common thing in the 90s, particularly for like if a dude scored a goal in soccer, like he would like rip off his shirt and like, rah, and so obviously, Brandi Chastain did that as a way of like fucking celebrating the fact that, shout out to the women's U.S. Soccer team. Fucking amazing, incredible, especially compared to how dog shit our men's team always is. I mean, these guys consistently bring home championships. It's like, very impressive, our women's soccer team. And it goes back to the OGs like Brandi Chastain, Mia Hamm, all those guys.
Yeah, thanks so much for the super chat, Christina. I'm not actually familiar with that specific story. I don't follow, sports as much as Zach does. But yeah, it sounds like a very similar sort of instance that we're talking about here. So yeah, I definitely would agree that it sounds pretty similar, and that double standard is very real. But shout out to you, Christina. We really appreciate you tuning in and commenting as always.
Yeah, shout out to you, Christina. Jimmy and Anna are more alike than either one of them would like to admit. Yeah, that's fair. That's probably fair that, the opposite sides of the same coin, maybe.
Yeah, 100%, Brian. I mean, I'm sure hanging out with Jink for all those years, I'm sure some of his personality has rubbed off on her, absorbed into her, so to speak. But yeah, they definitely do have that strain of like narcissism. And, I gave Anna credit at the time when they invited Olay on to discuss their differences with police abolition and with prison abolition. because Jake was super, super rude to Olay the whole conversation. And surprisingly, Anna was actually like pretty respectful. She definitely, disagreed with Olay, but she was at least doing it in like a respectful way. She at least was pretending to care about what Olay was bringing to the discussion and pretending to care about Olay's experience. And like, I respect you. I just disagree with you here, all this stuff. So it was really weird for me to see last night. I kind of figured that they were cool still. But it seems like since then, Anna has just really been stewing. And when Olay has mildly criticized her in an episode of The Leftist Mafia, she just, reached her boiling point or something. I'm not sure why she thought she would be able to, skate away without getting criticized at all from anyone on the left after making a controversial statement. I mean, if you put out a controversial statement, you can't then turn around and whine and cry about the fact that you're getting criticized. Like we do it all the time. We say things on the air that we know will be received with some level of controversy, whether it's among our own audience or on Twitter or whatever. If you don't want to be on the receiving end of a controversy, then just don't say something controversial. No one fucking put a gun to your head and made you type that out. If that's how you feel, then that's how you feel, but accept the fact that it's a controversial sentiment within the audience that you've cultivated, and then own it and defend it. But don't fucking whine about it, and don't act like you're getting canceled because people are publicly disagreeing with you.
Yeah, 100%. The like infallibility complex is definitely something that she shares with Jimmy. The outrage at anybody challenging your, wisdom, if you will. And yeah, that clip is wild. Anna did flip flop in real time. I mean, it's not. I mean, this is the thing that happens is that people have the receipts for the last decade of Anna Kasparian's commentary, right? Like straight up, probably more than 10 years she's been on the Young Turks network, right? So you can see the evolution of people, and you either proudly stand by that and you know what, you're like, yeah, that's true. I used to be woke and love everybody, but I just decided my life would have way more meaning if I hated the most vulnerable people in our society. I just got after the homeless because I thought, yeah, what the fuck can they do to stand up to my prowess? I drive a BMW. It's like I hate the trans people now. Just things to make you feel good when you leave the house, I guess. I don't know what her reasoning is for that evolution. I guarantee you it has something to do with money and clicks, though, just like everything else in media.
Yeah, apparently. But yeah, it is an insane clip, and it reminds me, it's funny because the last time Olay was beefing with the Young Turks, like we mentioned, was over the propaganda and their tweets about how defund the police was absolutely insane and that anyone supporting it was a lunatic. And then similarly, someone found a clip of Jank from like a year or two ago being like, defund the police is the compromise. It doesn't go far enough, and all this stuff. So it's like, what happened? How did you change your mind? How did you do a complete 180 on that too? And I get it. Everyone changes their mind on things. Everyone has a intellectual evolution, especially if you're a commentator and your whole job is just to react to things off the cuff. Like, yeah, it's going to be a process. You're going to always be evolving intellectually and forming new opinions as you react to new information and recent developments. But to just have such a complete 180 on two subject matters that you're now pretending to be like these virtuous crusaders for truth and justice on, it seems a little bit sus.
Yeah, absolutely. But shout out to you, the real Kevin Smith. Always a fucking treat when he's in our chat. I can't believe it. The real Kevin Smith. And shout out to you, Jane. Why is Kasparian like this? Is she bad? No, I mean, she just has perverse incentives like all people in media, and she's decided that she would rather selfishly and narcissistically make a point that pleases her as opposed to doing any kind of real meaningful introspection and probably riding an easy wave. She likes to go on and get a bunch of new followers from the Daily Wire and all these other places. And, they want to talk about how the left just can't accept that men are men and women are women. Why doesn't the left believe in biology? And she's like, I know. I remember when the left used to be rational and we hated the poor. That was our whole deal. We hated the poor and the marginalized. I don't know. Where did that all go? It's like, are you fucking crazy? Like, of course you go and you talk to like one of the most I think Ben Shapiro may have been the youngest syndicated conservative columnist ever. That's the kind of guy you're trying to reach now. This guy's whole life has been about one thing, everything that we oppose. But now you're like so giddy about sharing common ground with that guy. Like, no, that tells me more about you than it does about him. He's always been terrible. His conviction has stayed. You, on the other hand, had your head seemingly screwed on right for a while, and now it's just turning over.
Yeah. I totally agree with that, Zach. But thank you so much, Jane, for the $2. I love the little Bulbasaur in your profile pic as well. But yeah, shout out to you. Really appreciate that. And I guess that just about wraps up our segment on Anna Kasparian versus Olayemi Olurin. Definitely a juicy late night beef that I was not expecting. I was watching that go down last night, just like laughing my ass off. Good times.
An Easter egg for the bread tube.
Exactly. I did want to briefly talk about the Breaking Point's reaction to Elon Musk declaring war on Matt Taibbi. I thought they had a pretty good breakdown of the situation, although I will say I did disagree with Sagar a little bit here. So I'm excited to give you guys my opinion and to hear yours, Zach. Are you down to take a look at this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then Barely Funky, we can comment about the Abbott pardon really quickly before we get out of here too, because that's also fucking insane.
Yeah, so we talked about this story a lot yesterday. We spent like 2 hours on this story. But as you guys know, after Matt Taibbi fucking epically humiliated himself on the Mehdi Hasan show by refusing to criticize Elon Musk, who's actively helping right-wing government in India censor its critics on behalf of Modi, after that, Matt Taibbi, who still claims to care so much about free speech, but can't seem to offer up a single word of criticism for a man who is literally aiding and abetting the goals of censorship on a global scale. No words for him, no criticisms for him. So again, Matt Taibbi went on Mehdi Hasan's show, embarrassed himself in a number of ways, but specifically by refusing to criticize Elon Musk. Then just a couple hours after that, Elon Musk turns around, throws him right in the garbage, says, "You're not even allowed to post your work on Twitter anymore. You're not even allowed to post your Substack links to my platform anymore." To which Matt Taibbi replied in a pretty pathetic way, saying, "Well, I guess then I'm going to leave Twitter." But he still didn't even call out Elon Musk. He still didn't call out the censorious direction that Elon Musk was taking to Twitter. He just kind of pathetically retreated with his tail tucked between his legs, without even really calling out Elon, like I said. But anyway, I thought Breaking Points offered some pretty good coverage of this situation. Although, like I said, there is something Sagar says about halfway through here that I did take a strong issue with and totally disagree with. But I'm excited to get your reaction. Like I said, Zach, let's take a look here.
Imbroglio, is that how you say that?
Yes.
All right, so big imbroglio, is that how you say that?
Yes.
Between Substack and Twitter, a lot going on here. So users on Twitter started noticing that you could no longer share Substack links. It was treating everything with regard to Substack very strangely, in a way hearkening back to the early Elon Twitter days when they wouldn't let you share any like Mastodon links and other links out of the platform, which resulted in a huge backlash, and they ended up reversing the policy. Okay, so Substack getting similar treatment here. And not incidentally, right after they launched a sort of Twitter competitor of their own within the Substack platform, which is called Notes. So let me go ahead and put this up on the screen. This is some of what users were noticing. So first of all, if you would search for the word Substack, Twitter would return things for the search newsletter. So there's like a hard-coded search manipulation that was going on here to try to disappear any actual Substack results that people might be searching for. You also have unsafe link warnings for any Substack links. I have newsletter is what Zainab Tefeki says here. Drowning in free speech is her characterization. And then you also had search results for Matt Taibbi Twitter files, also not returning any results whatsoever. And I'll show you that more of that in a moment. So clearly Twitter deciding they were going to try to nuke this new nascent competitor to them being crafted over at Substack called Notes. So this has huge implications for everybody who is a writer over at Substack. I mean, Twitter is one of the primary ways that Substack authors promote their work and grow their following so that they can do the independent journalism that they're doing over on Substack. And there's also a great irony here because when Elon purchased Twitter, he claimed that this was all about, his commitment to free speech. Substack has really walked the walk in that regard. And full disclosure, I have a Substack over there with Kyle for Crystal Kyle and Friends. So I am a user of the platform. I also tested out Notes this week, and it seems like it's a sort of like well-crafted service there. But Substack has really lived up to the supposed values of free speech. They have not engaged in censorship. There's a wide range of ideological views, everything from, some of the top creators over there are resistance liberals, you've got never Trumpers, you've got hard right folks, you got far left folks, and everything in between hosted on Substack, censorship free. So there is a great irony to the supposed free speech warrior Elon Musk censoring any ability for these Substack writers to be able to promote their work over on Twitter. So one of the people who obviously is impacted by this is journalist Matt Taibbi. Fresh off his showdown with Mehdi Hasan over on MSNBC, he posted this on Twitter, quote, "Of all things, I learned earlier today that Substack links were being blocked on this platform. When I asked why, I was told it's a dispute over the new Substack Notes platform. Since sharing links to my articles is a primary reason I come to this platform, I was alarmed and asked what was going on. I was given the option of posting articles on Twitter instead. I'm obviously staying at Substack and will be moving to Substack Notes next week." Okay,
really
so Taibbi.
For anybody who hasn't been following our intense commentary on this, we've said a lot about how this was fucking obviously going to happen as soon as he demanded that Matt Taibbi was going to start posting all of his articles to Twitter. Once they decided that they were going to get rid of the fucking character or extend the character limit for people with Twitter Blue, it was obvious from then that they were going to try and eliminate the prevalence of external links being used on Twitter, which was going to destroy the way that most modern, journalists make their living, especially independent journalists, but all journalists use Twitter, right? But particularly independent journalists have to promote their work on social media. This was an absolutely anti-worker move, anti-journalist move from Elon Musk, and that's why it's absolutely mind-boggling that Matt Taibbi still pretends to double down and act like he was doing like free speech work. It was like, no, dude, you got played so bad. You were literally the guy that sold out the entire team to get one scoop, and then you all got flushed down the river. Like, you are that guy in this narrative, which is why it's hard to feel bad for him.
Says, I found out I can't share Substack links on Twitter. I'm going to transition over to using Substack and Notes more and Twitter less. As a result of this, next piece, Elon unfollows what media characterizes here as Twitter Files hero Matt Taibbi after reporter ditches the platform, which is pretty extraordinary, Sagar, because, Taibbi is the most prominent journalist who was involved in Twitter Files. He really was defending Elon quite, or at least refusing to criticize him in his interactions with Mehdi Hasan on MSNBC. And then hours later, is being snubbed by Elon and effectively forced off the platform because they're blocking any sharing of Substack links. Yeah, pretty crazy.
A critical cucking.
I mean, if they vindicates, what Taibbi and Barry Weiss and all of them had said. It's like, there's look, we're not doing press for the guy. They're like, we did the reporting. Taibbi was like, he didn't want to criticize him in that Mehdi Hasan interview, but he also was willing to say, screw you. I'm not going to stay here if you're going to go after the company that's backed me from the very beginning. So I think he showed his independence, at the very least. I do think it's totally crazy that the Substack was.
So yeah, I happen to totally disagree with Sagar there. I don't think this showed any backbone whatsoever. Matt Taibbi sat there day after day after day while he watched Elon Musk censor other people and kept his mouth completely shut about it, stayed totally silent and refused to criticize even when asked point blank. And now only is saying or doing anything because it's affecting him and his ability to post his work to Twitter. So now all of a sudden it's an issue. But even then, even after you get epically played and humiliated by Elon Musk, you still don't have any words of criticism. You don't actually have anything to say about this policy of censorship and the direction that Musk is taking Twitter, not even let people post links to Substack, a platform that actually does care about free speech, as Crystal mentioned. You still don't have anything to say about it. You're just going to walk away pathetically and, with your tail tucked between your legs. As I said, that's not, showing any backbone. That's just getting humiliated.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's pretty. Yeah, I don't know how you spin that as a positive. It's like, well, he wouldn't criticize Elon Musk. No, he went on that program. People are like, oh, Mehdi baited him into that. Like, he went on to that Mehdi Hasan show to respond to a specific allegation that Mehdi Hasan had made, where Mehdi says, I bet Matt has nothing to say about the horrible shit that Twitter is doing to journalists in India at the request of the Modi, administration, if you want to call it that, right? The Modi apparatus, his whole fucking government in India, right? Whatever. Has absolutely nothing to say about it after Matt's like, oh yeah, I bet you don't know what I'll say. Oh yeah, we all did know what you were going to say. Let me find out what Daddy Elon says it's okay. Mr. Warbox doesn't like it when I talk out of turn over here, and I'm still trying to cash some checks before I leave. Of course, when Elon Musk turns around and is like, actually, you're more trouble than you're worth now. I'm gonna have to cut you loose. Sorry, bro. Just business. We're rolling out this Twitter stuff. Like, you've made the Twitter files a hub for journalism now. You did what I needed for you. Get fucked. You can either be with us or against us. You either have to nuke your massive amounts of subscriber base that you have over at Substack and come over and just roll the dice with Daddy Elon, or you can, move on and, just completely quit Twitter, which is just like, it was an absolute rolling. It was, he just used him up and threw him away. That's what happened. So, I how you could describe that as anything but pathetically embarrassing is beyond me.
Yep. And unfortunately, with all due respect to Sagar, what he says here is just not true. Let's go back and play his words one more time.
Interactions with Mehdi Hasan on MSNBC, and then hours later is being snubbed by Elon and effectively forced off the platform because they're blocking any sharing of Substack links.
Yeah,
pretty crazy.
What does it vindicate? If it vindicates, what Taibbi and Barry Weiss and all of them had said, it's like, look, we're not doing.
And first of all, Barry Weiss, you can't put her in the same sentence as Matt Taibbi because she called out Elon Musk from the beginning. As soon as Elon Musk started banning accounts he didn't like and censoring the Elon Jet Tracker, Barry Weiss did come out and say, hey, while I stand by my reporting of the Twitter files, unfortunately, it looks like the new regime at Twitter, led by Elon Musk, is taking the company in the exact same censorious direction as the last regime did. She got unfollowed by Elon Musk. She was not allowed to continue reporting on the Twitter files information. And Matt Taibbi sat there while that all happened and was completely silent. He did not defend his colleague Barry Weiss after Elon Musk called her a virtue signaler. He didn't say anything about whether or not she was right to say that Elon Musk was taking the company in a censorious direction. He just sat there like a good little dog with his mouth shut because he was afraid of losing access to the Twitter files himself. So it doesn't vindicate what Matt Taibbi and Barry Weiss were saying. Matt Taibbi was never taking that stand at all. Barry Weiss was the only one that was principled enough to take that stand. And again, that's absolutely insane to say, given the fact that Barry Weiss is someone who I have basically no respect for.
Yeah, and I think we all have to appreciate what really brought him out and to do this is I can only imagine how much money Matt Taibbi is raking in from Substack. It has to be a really, really good living. So of course he's not going to walk away up for that just for the scoop from Elon, right? Like, this is his entire bread and butter. This is how he pays his mortgage. He's got kids, whatever. He's not going to walk away from that. Right, just for a good scoop. The problem was he was trying to have his cake and eat it too, and now that's no longer an option.
Yep.
Press for the guy. They're like, we're not. They're like, we did the report. What does it vindicate? If it vindicates, what Taibbi and Barry Weiss and all of them had said, it's like, look, we're not doing press for the guy. They're like, we're not. They're like, we did the reporting. Taibbi was like, he didn't want to criticize him in that Mehdi.
So yeah, once again, Elon's saying, oh, we just did the reporting and we left it. Or sorry, Sagar is saying here, Matt, Barry, they just did the reporting and they left it at that. They were never doing press for Elon Musk. Of course not. They were just reporting on this substantive and very newsworthy information. Well, that's also not quite true, Sagar. Unfortunately, that's also not quite true because on a number of times, Matt Taibbi has explicitly defended Elon Musk's and defended the direction that he's taking Twitter in. Not just on the Mehdi Hasan show where he refused to criticize Elon Musk. No, he's actually gone out of his way to defend Elon Musk, affirmatively defend Elon Musk. Let me show you guys this Twitter thread from a while back in November of 2022 when Elon Musk originally took over the platform. Max Alvarez, who's a great journalist and who works over at the Real News Network, he posted this trying to sound the alarms about the direction that Elon Musk was taking the company in and how that can negatively affect journalists and the work they do and how they use Twitter in order to advance that job or that work. So Elon Musk had said, as Twitter pursues the goal of elevating citizen journalism, media elite will try everything to stop that from happening. Max Alvarez says, funny because Real News Network, an independent nonprofit news org, we do grassroots journalism every day. We talk to workers, victims of the police and prison industrial complex, community organizers, etc. And Musk blowing up Twitter is going to royally fuck with the ability to do our jobs. Elon Musk responded and said, how? With a question mark, very condescending. And Adam Johnson responded to that saying, what? Twitter is a major, sometimes primary platform for independent media to get traffic and financial support. Is this something you're not aware of? To which Matt Taibbi said, I'm one of those independent outlets. What is Musk doing that prevents independent media from doing our jobs? So again, it's not just that he's refused to criticize Elon Musk in the past. No, he's straight up defended him. He has done press for Elon Musk, and he has done press for the new Twitter under Elon Musk's direction, which is why it's pretty funny and pretty accurate for Mehdi Hasan to point out that totally aged like fucking milk in the sun, given the recent developments and how Elon Musk is now quite literally banning Matt Taibbi from posting his own work, his own Substack links on the platform itself.
Yep. Who could have fucking seen that coming, right? Billionaire buyout, always good for the people, right? The working people. No, he just thought he was going to be cut above the rest of us. And you know, Daddy Elon was going to rescue him and give him his holiday in the sun. Turned out not.
Yep. We can watch a little bit more of this Breaking Points clip, see if there's anything else worth reacting to.
Hassan interview, but he also was willing to say, like, screw you, I'm not going to stay here if you're going to go after the company that's backed me from the very beginning. So I think he showed his independence, you know, at the very least. I do think it's totally crazy that the Substack was, and I tried it myself in terms of hard coded where you're unable to look for it, all over the nascent notes notification. You know, confident companies don't ban their competitors like this. Like a company that's confident in its product is not going to ban a nascent user base, which is the notes feature. Okay, as I understand it, was trying to be used for internal subs, like to promote other Substacks for people who are already inside the community. I didn't, and does not look like it's marketed as a like actual competitor to Twitter. What do you think?
I mean, listen, I'm gonna be real. I think I got an email as a Substack creator about Notes. Did I read that email? No. Right. I would not have known Notes existed were it not for Elon making it very clear that Notes exists. I mean, it's an ultimate Streisand effect. So that's number one. Number two, right now Notes exists in like a beta format where Substack writers only basically can use it, you know, for the sort of like trial opening testing period. And so I jumped on there to see what it looks like in terms of, you know, my own like personal, is this going to be something that's useful in my life? And also in order to further understand the story. The functionality is very much like Twitter. You know, it looks very much like, okay, you can like it, you can reply to it, you can retweet it or renote it or whatever they're calling it over there. So it looks very much like Twitter. But given the fact that it is hosted on the Substack platform, you know, it is naturally going to be a place where Substack authors and journalists and Substack readers predominantly congregate in order to share like a lot of independent journalism that's going on Substack. Now, they're not banning links from Twitter or links from any other platform or any other journalistic outlet, but that seems like the natural niche and ecosystem. And the thing that it has that's kind of its value add in terms of Substack journalists is they have some neat tools for making it very easy to share. You know, if you have a quote from your newsletter that you send out, you can very easily post that in the Notes platform in a way that looks really beautiful and hopefully for, you know, independent journalists there sort of like draws people over. Is this like a major, genuine threat to Twitter? I really would be skeptical of that.
I don't believe that at all.
Because Twitter at its best, I mean, we live in political Twitter. It's a very, you know, particular niche world on Twitter, but Twitter is also like sports and fandom and all sorts of other things. It seems unlikely that, in fact, you know, crypto was growing on Twitter. Porn was growing on Twitter. Like there's a whole other ecosystem, like range of ecosystems that are out there that it seems unlikely to me that Substack would be able to supplant. So yeah, I mean,
That's
you really
a really good point. And one of the things that we've talked about a little bit here is the fact that this is doomed. Like, I think that both things are doomed to fail, right? Like, Gavin and I are maybe the prime audience of people that would go on to Substack Notes. Like, we follow this shit all the time. It's a big part of our lives. I know a lot of Substack writers that I like. I get their emails and, I read their articles that way. It's a good system, but I'm never going to use it like I use Twitter, because it's not Twitter, and that's not what I use Substack for. And people are like, well, all in one place, bro. No, we are not our parents. We are not looking for the fucking, frozen meal section. I am more than capable of using one platform for one thing and one platform for another thing. I feel like there was a weird thing and a misunderstanding of youth culture where it was like, yes, everything has to be in one spot or the kids won't go to it, and it's like, that's not really true. Like, I still know how to play my music from Spotify and scroll Twitter and then, look at Instagram if I want to look at Instagram, though I would probably never. They've destroyed Instagram from like a desktop perspective. I actually pulled it up on accident the other day and I was like, holy shit, forgot that you can still look at Instagram on your computer, right? So you have like something on your phone, like what you're mainly looking at up here topically. And I just think that most people are set really sternly in their media diets, at least in this point. And if Twitter tries to like fuck up the timeline by making me read a bunch of like fucking articles in the midst of regular tweets, like that's going to really annoy me. I might use Twitter less, but I'm certainly not going to then go and use Substack Notes more, because it kind of would have the same grievance to me. I would probably just resign myself to use those platforms less. But who knows?
Yeah. And shout out to you, Brian, for the $4.99. Sorry, Sagar, but companies always try to crush their competitors in capitalism. That's true. Although I will say what Elon Musk is doing with Twitter is like specifically cartoonish in this realm. Like, yes, obviously corporations are always going to try to one up their competition, but like on YouTube, for example, I could still post a link to our Twitch channel in the description or our Rumble channel or whatever, which are obviously direct competitors with YouTube, but YouTube is not so like petty or whatever you want to describe Elon Musk behavior as, that they're refusing to let users share links to other competitor platforms. So it's just specifically and hilariously cartoonish how, Elon Musk is going about this and approaching it as the owner of Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's true that there's going to always be like a hostile takeover, right? But the reason that Elon Musk has to behave like this is because he's bleeding money out the ass for Twitter, and he has to find a way to just shore up as much immediate like liquid cash as he's able to bring in, right? And so I don't know. I think he sees this as an opportunity to make Twitter more profitable, and thusly keep him from going bankrupt because he's not able to pay back the loans that he took out in order to buy Twitter in the acquisition process, right? Because even though he is on paper, one of the richest men in the world, not all of that capital is liquid, right? A lot of it's tied up in stocks for Tesla, tied up in stocks for SpaceX, for now Twitter. And if he tries to sell off fucking stocks at, Tesla, right, then the value of those stocks is going to go down. They're going to be like, why is Elon leaving company? He's not confident in it. And his assets, plummet basically in value, which we've seen happen a bunch of times throughout his like fucking manic behavior. His net worth will explode and then fall. And, he got a government contract for SpaceX and now he's, worth $100 billion instead of 55 or whatever the fuck it is, at this point. Now it's probably far more than that, just like a ghastly amount of money. But yep, that is the way of capitalism. That's what we all knew was coming. Maximal extraction and maximal fucking carelessness for the workers and the regular user base. Independent journalists just being like, they'll adapt or fucking fail, is their analysis. And also, quick shout out to Kevin. U.S. men's team has more trophies than England. Yeah, that's probably because, are you counting like Gold Cup trophies, right? Or the Copa America? No, I don't think we have any Copa America trophies. Maybe we do. I don't know. We're fucking terrible at soccer in this country. Jesus Christ. We haven't outright beat England, I think, since the 1950s. Like at this point, we're just counting our draws with the English men's team as victories here at stateside. But yeah, shout out to you.
Yeah, shout out to you, Kevin. Really appreciate the super chat. Also, Home Cooked Meal saying, did we already mention that Batya is leaving Rising? Apparently, she announced at the end of a segment today that she'll be leaving. So I did want to take a quick look at that and react because, as you guys know, I am not a fan of Batya or her presence on Rising. So if true, this is a good day for me. But let's see if it is.
Right, but the working class gets left out, of course, and their real issues again become forgotten and ignored.
That's a great point. Oh, such a great point, Batya, which is why I'm so sad to announce the next thing before we go for the day. Batya, why don't you give everybody the very sad, from my perspective, news?
Yeah, me too. I'm going to have to be stepping away from Rising, at least for now. I'm focusing on a few projects at Newsweek and will not be joining you on Mondays anymore, although, of course, hope to stay in the Rising family. I think this show is just the bomb, and I think you're wonderful, Robbie, and I so appreciate the time that you all have spent with me and allowed me to spend with you, and hope that we will stay in the family together, and I'm excited to come on as a guest once again when we can set that up.
Absolutely. Well, we'll be happy to have you back anytime. You know, I understand it's a really, this show is a full-time obligation. I also write for Reason Magazine. You also write and edit at Newsweek, and it's a lot to do everything. So totally understand that you're gonna work on some other things. We will love to have you back at some point in the future. You know, as we too try to figure out how many days a week we're doing what things exactly. But it's been so wonderful spending these last many Mondays with you, and we'll be following your work, Batya. And for those of you at home, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those who like to listen while...
Oof. So there we go. Bye, Batya.
Yeah, Batya sucks, so I'm definitely glad that she's leaving. She's never at all insightful, in my opinion. She's a total hack. And worst of all, she continues to pretend to be a leftist or a liberal or something. Meanwhile, I've never heard her make a single left-wing argument. She constantly defends the right wing, constantly panders to the anti-woke right, while, again, pretending to be on the left. So, yeah, definitely not going to shed any tears over this. Knowing the Hill, they'll probably replace her with someone just as bad or worse. But still, I think that's cause for celebration. I'm not a Batya Ungar Sargon fan.
Yeah, absolutely. I honestly didn't watch a ton of the content when she was on. I typically, if it's not just like Brianna or, you know, Brianna and Robbie having a conversation on the Hill, I'm bad. I'll just skip it. I just won't watch the segment. I'll be like, I don't really fucking care. I'll be like, I like Brianna's commentary a lot, so I'll watch the show for that. But if it's just two strangers, two randos, I mean, obviously if like Olayemi's on the show, I'll be like, oh, I want to know what Olayemi has to say, but she hasn't been on in a while. They've just been dwindling down the kind of commentators that are giving good left-wing analysis on there. But one thing I did want to talk about, this is absolutely fucking crazy before we get out of here, is the Greg Abbott pardon. I don't know if you've been following this, Gavin, but this is absolutely insane. So for one, let's start here. This happened in Texas, which already has like some of the most fervent stand your ground laws. Like, it's so hard to get a cop to be convicted of murder in Texas, right? Let's start there. The laws are written so corruptly and so in the favor of the police and also in the fucking favor of anybody with a gun, right? That it's so hard to get a conviction. So let's start there, right? Garrett Foster, who, he was a white man, right? Out protesting in 2020, like many of us were, and he was shot and killed by a cop, right? And I don't think the cop was working, by my understanding, right? But we can read a little bit here. It says Foster and Perry. So Garrett Foster was the man that was shot. Perry was Sergeant Perry was the pig that fucking shot him, encountered each other at a street protest on July 25th in 2020, about 2 months into the national protests over the police killing of George Floyd in Minnesota. Perry, who was stationed at Fort Hood and was downtown Austin working as an Uber driver that night, when he turned onto a street crowded with protesters, including Foster, both men were carrying firearms legally. Foster, 28, was carrying an AK-47 at the protest, which he attended with his fiance, who I believe is quadriplegic. I believe his wife, he was her primary caretaker, which is relevant. She had, I believe, all 4 limbs had been amputated previously. And Foster approached Perry's car. Perry shot him repeatedly. Witnesses said Perry was driving dangerously close to protesters. They also said Foster didn't raise his weapon toward Perry, but the defense team said Perry feared for his life and that Foster had raised his gun. Prosecutor said Perry instigated the incident after running a red light. All in all, what happened is they do find this man guilty. You're allowed to openly carry a firearm, right? This goes back to the Black Panthers. You guys have seen this, right? Like the Black Panthers, they would all carry, firearms, right? Not something that I would personally choose to do, but in the state of Texas, you're allowed to, which means an off-duty cop can't decide to just haul off and shoot you unprovoked, right? And if you read more into this story, you find out a bunch of crazy shit. Like the cop was pissed off because he had been texting a woman he wanted to meet up with, and then she requested money from him. So basically what it sounds like to me is this guy was carooning around, this fucking pig, looking for a hooker, some sex worker, the poor woman that would have had to spend an evening with this pig bastard for money. Not to demean her profession, but he gets rejected or the money situation isn't right. He gets pissed off. He runs a red light, gets right up next to the protesters and shoots the dude with the gun there with his revolver, thinking that he's above the law because he's a cop. You can go through all of his like Twitter fucking feed and shit where he's like talking about how you could kill one of these protesters and get away with it because everybody fucking hates them and yada, yada, yada. And now Greg Abbott, governor of the state of Texas, is going to go over the law, over the jury of this man's peers, over the judge that's found him guilty of murder and is going to give him an immediate pardon. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, this is insane. And also, apparently, Vegmoto is saying he's not a cop. He was an Uber driver who had been in the army. So I don't actually think it was a pig. But basically, you got the gist of it. From what I'm seeing online, it looks like, Daniel Perry was a Air Force veteran. Was Daniel Perry an Air Force? I'm not quite sure.
Gotcha. That's why they refer to him as Sergeant. Okay, I knew he was Uber driving while he was when this initiated. So he's like completely not protected by the law in the force, in period. So in this case, that's even worse. It's fucking the Greg Abbott getting out here basically protecting like vigilante fucking hate crimes with no pretense of this being a law enforcement officer. That's another fucked up thing to notice about the media. All the articles that I read about this guy, called him sergeant and then would say while he was like, working as an Uber driver. So here I am thinking he's just a dirty fucking pig, that works Uber on the sideline. Turns out he was a retired military guy. Either way, his actions are the same, a wannabe pig.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this kind of reminds me of the Kyle Rittenhouse situation, where it's like, just because you're at a Black Lives Matter protest doesn't give you the excuse to murder people. It's not self-defense just because you're at a fucking protest, bro. That's totally insane.
Just wicked that immediately, right after the fucking verdict came down, that Greg Abbott, the governor of the fucking state, is already exploring pardon offers. Do you guys know how impossible it is for people who are actually, not guilty and have been convicted of crimes to get a pardon? Like if you are actually that makes sense. This do you know how fucking difficult it is if you are not guilty but a corrupt jury? Now we have the evidence. It's like, oh gosh, you're exonerated basically. Do you know how hard it is still to get a fucking pardon? But this guy is whipping up a kerfuffle immediately, so this guy doesn't have to spend any day in jail when he should be spending the rest of his fucking life behind bars. I mean, I mean, seriously, we don't allow murder. I'm a prison abolitionist, right? Okay. Right now, you're killing people in broad daylight. You got to go somewhere. Can't have you in the street. And it's not going to be that guy that I'm simping for reform for, right? But just absolutely absurd. I started looking into this a few days ago, and it just blew my mind.
Yeah, that's wild. I'm glad we're able to talk about it a little bit. I'm not totally up to speed on all the details, so I don't have a ton of analysis to give, but that is wild. That's crazy. I'll have to pay a little bit more attention to what's going on with that. But shout out to you, Kevin, for the $2. Once again, always appreciate it, bro. Agreed with Gavin. LOL. Batya was the worst host. Truly the worst host on Rising. At least Robbie has like some level of charisma when he's delivering his dog shit takes. Batya can't say the same about.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to you, the real Kevin Smith.
And I had one more thing I wanted to chat about briefly. Is there something you wanted to plow into? Okay, yeah. One last thing that I wanted to talk about is just to give a shout out to our friend of the show, Scott DeNoyers, who recently had a demonstration on Easter Sunday, so yesterday, at the Fidelis Care Regional Office to protest the insurance industry. Obviously, you guys know, if you've seen Scott on our show, that his son committed suicide after missing an insurance payment and wasn't able to take his mental health medicine as a result, and again committed suicide. We've had Scott on a number of times, and it looks like the demonstration went really well. Status Quo was there to cover it, and there were some other friends of the show, like Laura Fielding of the Red Berets, who showed up in solidarity. So I just wanted to play this clip from the protest and shout out our homies over at the Red Berets and Scott for putting this demonstration on. Like I said, it looks like it was a real success, and it's really cool that Status Quo was there to cover it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So the reason we are here today, we have narratives that are given to us by our local lawmakers, our politicians, and the mass media. These narratives are that companies like Fidelis Care are here to get us health care. Our Republicans, our Democrats are all back in saying the same things. Republicans will sell us the Democrats are raising the cost of our health care. Then the Democrats will say the Republicans are trying to take away your health care. Which one is telling us the truth? Neither. Neither one of them is trying to get us health care. They're fighting to get insurance contracts for us that deny health care for their profits. That is not giving us health care. Don't tell me that health care is a human right, but here's your contract that will deny that health care for our money.
Yeah, powerful stuff. Always great to hear from Scott. We had him on the show a few weeks ago as they were preparing to, host this demonstration. And yeah, big shout out to Status Quo News for getting out there and putting a camera in front of these guys.
Yeah, really inspirational to see Scott and the Red Berets continuing the movement, keeping the fight going for universal health care. So I really wish we could have been there to join in solidarity, but thought we would give a shout out to our friends of the show who, like I said, are just so inspiring out there fighting for universal health care and to pass the New York Health Act as well. So that's some good stuff. Shout out to you guys. Keep up the good work. And is there anything else you wanted to chat about today, Zach?
No. I'm basically that's about it. Yeah, I thought we had a good show today. Wanted to get a little bit into that Greg Abbott pardon because it just shows you how fucking like these guys they're all about law and order. That guy broke the fucking law and he killed somebody, and you're about to go make sure that you coddle him and so he never has to spend a day in jail. That is absolutely insane to me. Right? And this is why people talk about how we have a two-tier justice system, bro. Because if I walk outside and I get pissed off and I shoot a cop, I'm lucky if I don't get put to fucking death by the fucking government. Okay, all I'm saying. But the roles are reversed. And this sergeant in the military, he was in, I think, he's a sergeant, I think in the Army. The other guy was in the Air Force. So two vets, right? They clearly have drawn their side in the sand. The one guy who's out here, with his fucking disabled wife demanding justice and equality, right? Gets mowed down by a racist piece of shit that just decided to fucking kill him. That just walked over there, inserted himself in the situation and said, I'm going to take this man's life because I think I'll get away with it. I want to be the next Kyle Rittenhouse. I want to go on Fox News. I want to be a hero to these people. That's what they're creating by doing this. With the way they treat Kyle Rittenhouse is 100% on purpose. They want more Kyle Rittenhouses. That guy got off. This guy was convicted, but guess what? Governor Abbott, law and order Republican, going to come in here and try and swoop in. It should be absolutely impossible for this to happen. I'm shocked that they're just being so brazen with this, and I shouldn't be shocked because we know the endless levels of corruption in the police and in the U.S. government. But just coming out and saying, "Oh yeah, we know this guy got convicted by a jury and a judge for murdering somebody in the fucking street, and we think we're going to just give him a pardon for you." Are you fucking kidding me? I mean, absolutely ridiculous. But I could talk about that for fucking hours. I hate our government and the police force, that's for sure. But yeah, great show today. And I guess we can wrap this with a massive shout out to the patron community.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Really appreciate you guys all for tuning in today. And as you know, we do like to start and end all of our shows with a big shout out to the Patreon community. If you guys enjoy the work that Zach and I do and the commentary we provide, then please do consider hitting up the link in the description. There's a Patreon link. There's also a PayPal link if you feel like donating that way. It's really appreciated as well. But yeah, the donations for our Patreon support, the support from our Patreon audience rather, really helps keep the show going. We wouldn't be able to do the show without you guys and your support, so we really appreciate it. And like I said, the links in the description, even just $5 a month or so, really goes a long way as to keeping the show healthy and sustainable. So feel free to hit that up. We really appreciate you guys. Obviously, if you're not able to contribute financially, we totally understand. All we ask is that you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next live stream. But whichever you choose, thank you so much for the support. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you guys next time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Peace out, everybody. Cheers.